This is Don't Panic, episode number 243, recorded June 3rd, 2019. Cheese graters, pencil palettes, and the news from Dub. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Don't Panic. Fireworks, explosions, cool graphics. I'm Sean Jennings, joined as always by a couple of guys whose passports are overflowing with stamps. It is Dan Miller and Colby Rabidou. Gentlemen, welcome back from our mini-May hiatus.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's great to be back.
It sure is.
Fun fact, for a long time, my passport only had stamps from Iceland in it. But like more than one time. But this time I went to Frankfurt, so now I have Germany stamps too.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
I have a tech update from my travels.
Nice. Okay, bring it on.
My colleague had her phone stolen while we were in Barcelona, and we can talk all about the different techniques that pickpockets use. But can you picture, if you will, imagine trying to buy there are no Apple stores in Barcelona. There is one, but it's closed for renovation, so it's, extremely helpful. Imagine trying to buy a phone in a language that you do not speak. It's actually a pretty complicated transaction. You don't just go into a store that's not an Apple store and be like, yes, that one, please. Give them your credit card and walk out. He's like, you got to get the service. You're signing papers.
Signing your life away.
Yeah. You're signing things you don't understand, even in English, never mind in Spanish. So that was something I wouldn't have thought about. Oh, like if you lose your phone, you can just get another one.
Do you think could you get like a prepaid, like off the shelf Android or something to like hold you over?
He's taking a long time with this sip.
Chug.
He's really savoring the flavor. Oh.
I'm back.
He's back, and he's blurry.
Skype just crashed. Just exploded. What were you saying, Colby? You think you could get...
I was more posing the question, like, could you get a like off the shelf like prepaid burner Android phone or something?
How would you even express that that's what you want? And how would you know that that's what you're getting?
Dan, it's really easy. You just use Google Translate on your phone to tell... Oh, wait!
Yes, so she came in with her laptop with a bunch of things pre-translated, saying, like, phone, prepaid, a bunch of other keywords. It took hours, but they did manage to figure it out.
That sounds exhausting.
Yep, that's my vacation tech update.
Did I ever tell you I promised very short story of when I was in the Netherlands at a restaurant and I wanted to use the restrooms, but I didn't know where they were. And I just walked up to one of the random wait staff and I was like, and it's the Netherlands. Most people there speak English. The wait staff did not. And so I said, hey, can you point me to the restroom? And she just kind of looks at me and shakes her head. And I go, the bathroom, can you show me the bath? And of course I do that thing where I talk louder as if that's going to help. The bathroom, can you show me the bathroom? And she still looks confused. And I say, too loud for a restaurant. I go, toilet. And she finally is like, I think she finally gets it and she points me in the right direction. But I was very embarrassed because I said a little too loud, like she was deaf, not...
That's one of the only things I always make sure I know how to say in the language before I go somewhere. Where is the... And then a train station and bathroom. And if you have those two things, normally you can survive.
Yeah, the Netherlands spoiled me. They were. You'd go to every restaurant, and they'd have a Dutch and an English menu, and I'd be like, I love this country.
Yeah.
It's almost like America.
Basically, except better. Yeah. So, yes. Dan, you were in Barcelona. Colby, you were in Sweden and then Italy.
Yep.
So you guys are getting around. Any particular highlights worth sharing?
I pre-lost my credit card in New Jersey before I came to Barcelona.
Smart.
So that was problematic, but thanks to the wonders of Apple Pay, I sort of like kept it locked and waited to see if anyone tried to do anything with it, and no one did. So I unlocked it, and then I just used the Apple Pay for the rest of the trip. And because Europe, Apple Pay is accepted everywhere, except, once again, the trains.
Yeah.
But it was great. Yay, Apple Pay. And now I will be able to soon use that here in New York for trains.
Coming to NYC. I saw a video of it in action. Looks fast.
I'm pretty jealous.
Here's another fun fact. I was waiting for a train in Barcelona, and I will also say I was able to order breakfast almost half of the time without switching to English. Now, this may have been because I was staying in a part of town that was not touristy, so maybe they didn't speak English.
Mm-hmm.
But there were also occasions where I screwed up something, and then they switched to English. But anyways, I thought I was pretty confident in my Spanish, and I show up at this train station, and it says the next train arrives in 35:007. It's like, wow, that's pretty far out for to know when a train's going to show up to the second. But like, hey, it's Europe. It's a magical place. Who knows? Could be true. So I wait, and 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, a minute 30, a minute 30, a minute 30, a minute. It just cycled between a minute 30 and a minute. And there was this other bit of text that was being displayed, something about in the morning 50%, in the afternoon rush hour 50%, and then from 9:45 on 20%. But I was like, I don't really know what that means, because they couldn't understand 20% of what. And turns out, I found out, the train, I waited for almost 45 minutes. The train didn't come, so I left. Walked an hour and 15 minutes back to where I was staying. But I found out later that this was saying it's at 50% service, but they don't say of what. And it turns out that 20% of service when a train comes every 10 minutes means that the train comes every 50 minutes. So I'm pretty sure if I had waited just a little bit longer, I would have gotten one. That's my other Barcelona story.
It seems like a very complex way to display that information.
Yes, you never hear that in the U.S. Like, trains are operating at 20% normal schedule. It'll just say
the time it will come,
or it'll say less frequently. Which honestly, I guess this is better as long as you know what is 20% of.
Very odd.
Weird. I took a train in Italy from Florence to Venice, and it was nice. It was easy. Nothing went terribly wrong.
Okay.
Which is,
you weren't robbed on the train or anything?
Wasn't robbed. Wasn't. I didn't anger any German people by being in their seats. I was able to get to the destination I intended to get to. Yeah, it was good. Oh, overall, it was a good train trip.
Nice.
Welcome to the Don't Panic Train Show.
Choo choo.
Trains.
Well,
they're
great.
like cars, but they go less places.
Yes. Well, that's wonderful. Well, I'm glad you guys had some very nice trips.
Yeah. I'm just really tired now. I keep waking up at 7 a.m.
Doesn't that feel good, though? Doesn't it feel good?
It feels good as long as you went to bed at the appropriate time to wake up at 7 p.m., which last night I did not.
Yeah.
Speaking of sleep, we talked previously on the show, my well-diagnosed lack of quality sleep. And while you guys were busy flying around the world, I bought a new mattress.
Ooh.
Tell us all about it.
I'm going to disappoint you guys so much. It's not even like you're angry, you're just disappointed type thing, where I went to the store and bought a regular mattress and didn't get an online mattress.
How do you even do that?
Yeah, they were shocked when they saw a millennial walk in the door.
So, here's a question for you, Sean. How many other people were in that mattress store while you were there?
Well, I went on a Thursday night, which they said is not usually very busy. So
yeah, because What you want is for there to be no one else in the store so that you can lay down on the bed in complete privacy except for the 2 employees who are staring at you the entire
I don't
time.
mind. I mean, I'm not like in my jammies doing it. I'm not worried about privacy, but it was also...
Sean, you gotta test it out for real world use cases.
I just show up in like a onesie with like one of those like big hat, the hats with a little ball at the end. Nightcaps, that's the term I was looking for. No, I went on the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend because I didn't want to go during the weekend because I knew it was going to be very busy. That's a big furniture mattress buying weekend. No, it's just a regular mattress. And on the plus side, it has... I used to wake up every morning sore, and my shoulders would crack, and it's not good, and it doesn't. My body doesn't do that anymore. So that's definitely an upgrade. On the downside, and you reminded me of this, Colby, when you were just talking, I now wake up every day at 5 or 5:30 in the morning. Every day.
Every day?
I'm flabbergasted.
I never used to do it. It's unrelated to sound. It's unrelated to light. And it is always 5 or 5:30, give or take.
And, like, do you wake up, like, rested and ready for the day, or, like, you just wake up and then go back to sleep?
It's funny. I have to try this because I feel good, like, lying in bed not moving. But then I try and fall back asleep, and then I feel crappy because I've, like, half slept for 2 hours.
Right.
So one of these days I should try. But then again, it's like I go to bed, that would be only, like, 5 hours of sleep, 6 hours of sleep, which is not enough for me because I'm a child. or as Katie Adams in the chat says, Sean is actually like a 75-year-old, which is also accurate.
I mean, maybe, I guess my here's the thing. Like, what if you're waking up at 5:30 because you're getting such good sleep now?
My body
that
knows.
like, right. It really is enough for you, but it didn't used to be enough for you because you weren't sleeping well.
But then what would I do with those extra hours? Just think of all that time.
I mean, that's a question only you can answer, Sean.
Damn, that would be crazy.
Right.
That would be like a week of extra time each year. I could get so many hobbies. What hobbies can you do at 5 a.m.? Running?
Reading?
Ugh. Reading? Okay.
Good run.
Well, isn't that what they used to call it back in like Shakespeare's time before they had artificial light? What was it called? Where people used to sleep for a chunk, be awake for a chunk, and then sleep for a chunk.
Triphasic sleep.
Okay, no, but there was like the colloquial term for it.
Oh, I don't know.
That like Shakespeare would use.
Rising with the cows?
No. What? What?
I don't know.
Is that even a phrase, or did you just make that up?
I just made it up.
Okay, because it reminded me of what was it, Benjamin Franklin, who said, "Lie with dogs, wake up with fleas," or whatever the sort of phrases of that.
I met someone, or not Matt. I was talking to someone today, and they did not believe me that "cut off your nose to spite your face" was an actual saying.
Well,
you two know this one?
I mean, yeah, I'm aware
phrase.
of it. I don't. Is there a good origin to that one?
I don't know what the origin is. She looked it up and then confirmed and gave me $5.
Nice.
That's a good deal.
Well, I think we have a lot of tech news to talk about.
Oh my god, we're drowning in tech news. From one event. The apparently some people are calling it Dub, which
Dub.
Including
messed
Apple
up.
itself on their little banner.
Problematic.
The kids are calling it Dub.
What you need to know. Tonight at 11. I was thinking of WWDC because it reminded me like WWJD, what would Jesus do? But it's like, what would
Dan do? Come on.
But then DC.
What would Dan cook?
What would Dan cook?
Dan cook.
I'd listen to that show.
I got bad news. There used to be only 3 answers. Now there's like 5, but it's still not many.
Well, one of these weeks, Dan, I got a cookbook I'll recommend for you. Try out some new recipes.
Does that have pictures?
It does, but the pictures don't show the steps, just the final result.
Oh, that's fine. I
Okay.
did, yeah.
Yep.
The big encyclopedic cookbooks that are just...
just recipes.
Here's every possible recipe you could ever imagine. It's like, but how would I know if I wanted to make this recipe?
Yeah, no, it's actually a really nice book. It's a future pick plug. No, WWDC was the keynote was today, actually. For once, we're kind of on the breaking news. And I have to say, this may have been one of the more packed WWDC keynotes, just in terms of the number of stuff they announced.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys
true.
want to tackle these. If there's any particular place you want to start, or you just want to...
Chronological. Chronological is the only way.
Well, let's get what I would call the more boring stuff out of the way. tvOS got a minor update, a redesigned homepage showing previews of movies and TV shows, kind of that autoplay you might see now in Netflix and things like that, where they start pre-playing stuff. They also announced support for Xbox One and PS4 controllers in relation to the upcoming Apple Arcade release in the fall. They also introduced multi-user support to show personalized recommendations for shows and music based on the content that person consumes. And Music Playback UI will now show live lyrics that follow along with the song, just like on iOS 13, which we will talk about later.
The controller thing is a big deal. I think we probably talked about it, how you don't want to play... You can only play the very simplest games on that stupid remote, which I actually don't mind the remote that much. But this is such an elegant solution to this problem, because anyone who would want to play a complicated game... not anyone. Most people who would want to play a complicated game on their Apple TV will have one of these controllers already. And what I hope they're going to do is make it easy to hook up. Like, if there's a built-in system menu where you can say, connect my PS4 controller, and it walks you through it, like, well, here's how you put it in discovery mode, because I think that's kind of a pain in the ass. And we'll discover it for you, Apple style. We'll show you. There's no Bluetooth pairing, 000 nonsense. I think that could finally get people to... If I was a developer, I would be, like, way more confident that people would play a game that I made for the Apple TV with this than I was yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. What's really interesting, I agree with you, Dan, and what's even doubly interesting for me is that Microsoft's big push lately has been, there's a name for the project, I can't recall. It's got something with cloud in it. But their whole push is to get more cross-compatibility with more devices and to get Xbox games in more locations. They're porting more stuff to PC. They're porting more stuff to Switch. And it would be really interesting, now that the Xbox controller is compatible, is if they opt to bring games to the Apple platforms. We saw the Minecraft demo today, which is a Microsoft property, and I'm curious if, now that it has controller support, if they have any interest in doing that, because I think that would also be pretty big.
Yes, that would be crazy.
Would be cool.
Although I do wonder, if you really start getting into high-end games, how much power Apple TV has to run them.
I don't know, but it has at least as much power as an iPhone from a few years ago.
Okay. I mean, it runs 4K stuff, so, HDR stuff, so, it's got some juice.
Well, that's a good question.
Is Microsoft's cloud thing a streaming gadget, or is it something else?
Gadget?
They have a couple... It's weird because, as I understand it, they actually have a couple different ways they're doing it. So there is a streaming component for low-power devices, but they also want to, straight up port the full code for more, like a Switch-type device or something like that.
I gotcha.
It's kind of... that's what, and I can't remember all the code names. It's annoyingly complex.
So, a 4K Apple TV has the A10X chip, which originally shipped in the iPad Pro in 2017.
Okay. Okay.
So that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
And when was... Now I'm getting bogged down, but when was the current Apple TV released? It wasn't...
September 22nd, 2017.
So they could theoretically do a new one this year.
Yeah, a new one with the new iPad Pro GPU. And that thing, by the way, actually... Okay, so did you go onto the marketing page for the new Mac Pro? We're not going to talk about that yet, but...
No.
If you go onto that page with a recent iPad or iPhone, you can put the Mac Pro in your... You can put it on the ground with ARKit and like hold the phone around it. It looks amazing. And actually, I might go grab my iPad unless iCloud uploaded it to my shared library, because I took a screenshot and I was amazed. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Apple. Look, iCloud worked. Here, I'm gonna put this in the Slack.
Remember when iCloud was a joke?
I do remember. It's gonna take a minute.
Okay. Well, while you're looking that up,
you can see the reflection of my coffee table in the Apple logo on the Mac Pro that is being rendered in ARKit, and I have no idea how they do this.
I'm very excited to talk about the AR stuff when we get to it.
Honestly, the AR stuff for a long time for me has been a very, whatever. I guess it's cool. I'll play around with it when a new thing comes out, and then I won't touch it again. But this blew my mind. If you look at the Apple logo, you can see that it has detected that it is on top of the table. It knows that the Apple logo is reflective, and it knows that the little white surface behind it is also reflective. If you zoom in, you can see that part of the reflection is the wood on my table, and part of the reflection is that white marble thing.
I'll put it up on the screen here for the folks watching the video. Dan, it looks like it's really there. Like, if you had sent me... Like, I'm not even joking. Like, I try and be a good eye, but if you had sent me that photo, I'd been like, Dan, how did you get one of these? Like, they just announced it.
Apple said, as a little review unit, they wanted to see how well it played Super Smash Bros. Melee, released in 2001.
Well, they know you're a journalist with Don't Panic, so...
Yeah, I was amazed. There's another cool one you can do if you go to the other page, like the design page, where the case is open and you can AR kit yourself into the case and look at the little RAM sticks and everything. It's really cool.
That's awesome. All right, let's keep chugging along here.
So all that to say, the graphics card on the iPad Pro is pretty
good.
Great.
Yeah.
I also noticed on the iPhone 10, it took a really long time for it to detect what the surfaces was. You had to it was like, move your phone around. It took 10 or 15 seconds. The iPad Pro, it didn't ask you to move the phone around. You told it to go, and it was just there. I'd never noticed that difference before.
Yeah, I wonder if the new sort of speculated 3-camera setup in the next version of the iPhone will make a difference with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they would be adding in, I believe, an ultra wide angle lens, and so I wonder if that would make it easier to detect stuff in the room. But anyway, we're off topic here. watchOS 6 also came along, added a couple new things from Apple, a couple new apps, including a voice memo app, a calculator app, so congratulations, you can have a calculator watch, and an audiobooks app. They also announced a dedicated app store for the watch and apps that can run independently on the watch as well, so you will not need a attached device. New APIs that let apps stream audio directly to the watch, as well as read data for longer periods than before. You can download software updates to the watch itself. I'm just going through stuff here. New watch faces, blah, blah, blah. Health features. A new feature can demonstrate how noisy the environment around you is by using the microphones in the watch to warn you if you're in too loud of an environment. They also added menstrual cycle tracking to let women monitor their cycle and get notifications on fertility windows. That feature will also be available on iPhone. Released to developers this week and public launch this fall.
Yep.
Cool.
My favorite thing here was... wait, what was it? Crap. There were so many things. Oh, the streaming API for music. I think this is finally a reason to get a Apple Watch with cellular service.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's way more compelling.
Yeah, but I would wonder what that would do to battery life, though.
Well, we'll see.
Oh, they'll do tests. I'm curious to see the results.
I will. The other thing is, in situations where I would be doing that, like if I'm working out or basically that's it. If I'm in some sort of physical situation where I don't want to have a lot of stuff on me, Most of the time, I will shortly thereafter be in a charging situation. At least for me, I'm not running ultra marathons or anything.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly makes sense for, as they pointed out, they've now added radio support, TuneIn Radio, and a few other of the radio apps, as well as they highlighted like the MLB is doing a native app for the watch. I think that's where the live stuff makes sense. I think you can locally offload things like podcasts and music, and I still think that's probably going to make the most sense for you. I don't know. Nothing in this update really excites me, if I'm being quite honest.
Well, I think there are some implications in the way that they said that apps can run on the watch, like standalone apps. The way they said it was native apps, and this is still not completely true for watch apps today. So it might mean a much higher quality, much faster watch app, regardless of if it's standalone or not. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting.
Yeah. I will just briefly mention, we didn't talk about this in the first part of the show, but while you guys were out of the country, I got a lot of poison ivy all over my hands and wrists.
Ooh, perfect.
Maybe I'll show you after the show. The folks at home do not need to see it. But it means I haven't been wearing my Apple Watch because it irritates my poison ivy, and I haven't missed it, like, at all.
What?
I'm totally serious. I really have not noticed it's not there. So maybe I'm just not using it right. We gotta.
You don't miss having the when you don't get annoyed when your phone buzzes in your pocket and now you have to take your phone out.
No, because you guys talked me into being more controlling about my notifications and being smart about them, so I don't get as many notifications as I used to. And so it's enough where, the watch is better, but usually I'm in a situation where I can check my phone. I'm not in a lot of meetings or anything like that.
I see.
So
do you get sad about your data gaps? I hate data gaps.
I was at first, but then it's I never use the data for anything. That's the problem. It's I've been tracking my sleep for a year and I never looked at it. Because I know how I sleep. Yeah. Do you look at it every day?
I don't look at my sleep every day. I look at activity every day. I look at sleep probably once every couple weeks.
No, the only time I ever think about activity is when the ring lights up and it buzzes my wrist, and I go, okay, I guess I did it. But I don't think about it. I don't try to hit
I think that
goals.
means that your goal isn't high enough.
Oh no, I purposefully set my goals lower than they recommended. Let me be crystal clear. Anyway, we're getting distracted here. We got a lot more to get through. What was next? iOS, and then they got to iPad and then Mac. I think
so. Yeah.
iOS 13.
No, I think they did iPad next.
iPad was after iOS because I know because I started the stream right at iPad.
Okay.
Congratulations! It is here, iOS 13. How exciting for the folks at home. It's one more than iOS 12 coming to iPhone devices, not iPads. We'll get to that next. Coming later this fall. Big list of stuff. You guys stop me if you want to dig in more to any of this. Improved performance. They're saying Face ID unlock 30% faster and apps will launch twice as fast as before. Okay. Dark mode. Probably the most noted change before the event that people knew about. A big visual update. System-wide dark mode. All of Apple's first-party apps are supported, and notifications in the dock got new dark hues to go with it. I will say, I think with dark mode, iOS has never looked better. I think iOS looks really good right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm very excited, because I am a dark app guy.
I would be a dark app person if I didn't spend so much time, I might not look like it, but so much time in the sun, or so much time in glary, sun-filled environments.
Sure.
Now, if this was automatic, not clock-based or the light sensor-based, then maybe there'll be a third-party app that can do this, but probably not. Then I would totally use it. I would prefer it at night, for sure.
I would think they would let you do it as a sensitivity thing. That would make sense.
I hope so. The problem is then you can end up in situations where it flip-flops between them. So I would be fine with time-based.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how it works with the the night mode there, where it changes the colors on the screen.
Right.
Same idea.
Right. Yep.
We also got a new swiping keyboard. They're calling it Quick Path.
Wait.
That's pretty much it on that. A bunch of the core apps are getting updates. I won't go through all of them. Reminders app is getting a big update where you'll be able to filter more, a new visual look, AI integration. You can type and reminders will automatically suggest stuff. Blah blah blah. Apple Mail, Notes, and Safari are all getting updates. Safari's getting per website preferences. Notes is getting a new gallery view for looking at all your notes at once. Mail's getting desktop formatting. Okay. Apple Maps is getting a reboot. They said they rebuilt the app from the ground up and a new map data set that will be 100% complete by the end of the year. But basically, they reshot maps for the entire country. And they added a view that's basically Google Street View. It seems fine. We've got what they're calling iMessage profile pictures. And so when you set a name and photo in messages, Apple will store that and it'll automatically sync to other users' devices like Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever. And you'll be able to use your Memoji as a profile picture as well. They've also added options for customizing Memoji as well as using Memoji as stickers, sticker packs.
Cool. Memoji.
Yep. I'm going to keep going until somebody stops me. New photo and video editing tools, new editing interface for iOS for photos, and now you'll actually be able to edit videos aggressively for the first time on your phone, including rotating them, which shockingly enough you could not do before on the phone itself. Photos apps is also getting a new UI, but nobody cares. Let's see, Find My. We have an update on Find My. They've merged Find My Friends and Find My iPhone into a single app called Find My. The app puts Find My in one place, lets you track both missing devices and friends and family members all at the same time. It is kind of weird that they're equating your iPad with your friend, but okay. It can also locate devices that are offline by sending a secure Bluetooth beacon to other Apple devices, relaying it back to Apple and then you, similar to how Tile works, where it's kind of everybody's looking for your stuff type system.
Now, if this could please work with AirPods, that's all. That's all I need.
It doesn't.
Have you lost your AirPods?
I have. Well, one time I did lose one pair of AirPods. So they may have been stolen. I'm not sure. But it's also likely I just lost them. And then a couple days ago, I misplaced them in my apartment, and then I found them in the charger, right where I left them. But if I had some sort of Find My iPhone thing that was just like, yes, they are in the house, I'd be like, okay, well, it'll show up.
Yeah, they definitely should do that for those. I agree.
But it was unclear to me if it works for that, because they talked about this whole new way of doing like passive Bluetooth stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it'd be pretty cool if...
Let me dig into the detailed article on it a little bit. See if I can get you some answers.
I looked, I didn't see anything.
No.
Yeah. But hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah,
if not,
cool.
they should. Yeah, finding a Mac, it feels like, man, if that's where you're at, you've got a lot of problems. I mean, I guess you could lose a Mac. I think being able to, reset a hard drive and stuff like that is important.
Yep.
But, yeah, just be like, hey, your laptop's around here somewhere. Be like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. Here's the thing we skipped. Did we talk about the HomeKit stuff yet?
No, that's coming.
Okay, it's coming.
I promise. That will be next.
Great.
Yeah, so let's just wrap up on iOS 13. We don't seem to have any thoughts. I think it's all good stuff. I don't think there's anything
Yeah,
particular.
but there's nothing crazy here.
No, nothing shocking. It's available for iPhone devices starting with the 6S and forward. A developer preview is live now, and it'll be available in the fall. Okay, Dan, because you asked, let's talk about some the HomeKit stuff quickly. Not a ton there, but there certainly is some stuff. They've added an update for starting with home security cameras. including models from Logitech, Arlo, and more. It's the HomeKit Secure Video API. It lets cameras send their video to an Apple HomePod to locally analyze it before sending it up to the cloud. Once analyzed, the video is encrypted and stored in iCloud, where you can have 10 days of footage stored at no charge. Essentially, they're just pumping the video through Apple. They also added router support in HomeKit that lets you firewall off accessories so they can't access your full home network. Linksys, Eero, and Spectrum are the sort of initial partners with that. They also, by the way, this was a minor point, but they also added HomeKit actions to Siri shortcuts for anyone who's interested in that.
So I thought this stuff was really cool. The in-home video thing. Mm-hmm. Is bananas. Like, that's crazy. It's something only Apple could do. I'm really curious to see how good it is. And there have been stories, I feel like just recently, there's some Nest problem or some other video company had some breach. It's really easy, especially with some of the old style cameras, to misconfigure them so that they're public to the internet. Nest has lost a lot of goodwill with their stupid API changes and the Google acquisition and all that other stuff. So I think any camera that support I'm gonna buy whenever one of these cameras comes out and gets good reviews. I'm gonna buy one. Easy. Sean looks unconvinced.
Well, I have two problems with this. One, you need to own a HomePod, which nobody owns.
No, false. It works with HomePod, Apple TV, or iPads.
Okay, I'm gonna believe you.
I'm pretty sure because I remember hearing they said HomePod first. I was like, oh, come on, like nobody has a HomePod. The other anything that can be a HomeKit hub, I'm pretty sure can do the video stuff.
I only think, well, maybe Apple TV. I only think because HomePod's got like a pretty shockingly powerful card in it. It's got like A10X or something crazy in it that they're not using for anything, so it seemed to me that would make the most sense. But I totally believe you. The other issue I have with this is if you're a camera developer, why would you support this? Like all of the Nests of the world and the Arlos and Logitechs of the world, they make money on monthly subscription fees for camera customers. That's where their ongoing revenue comes in. I pay Nest like $5 a month, whatever, for my cameras. Why would you go to Apple where you're not getting jack for it?
The HomePod has an A8, but the Apple TV has an A10X.
Okay.
That's a great question, but they have hardware partners, and I'm not going to ask too many questions.
I hear you.
You know,
I hear you, but
that's the other thing is that the free level, and I don't think they announced that anything more than this, of like 10 days.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's way more than you get with the other guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I am off of those other things as soon as one of these things comes out.
I hope they get good products to partner with them. I don't know what the advantage of this is for the camera companies. I just don't know why they would support this because I'm still not convinced HomeKit has aggressive usage broadly.
Yeah, I would be curious too. Yeah.
And so why go through all the effort of using this only to not make subscription revenue? But I could be wrong. I get why like the router guys would use it. I think that's a great selling point for them.
Okay, now let's talk about the router thing.
Yeah.
What was the deal with this again? They could
if
partition.
Firewalls off accessories so they can't access your full home network. So essentially, like a sub network for.
Oh, a sub network.
I'm a real technical guy.
Yeah. That might be how it works, but this is such an argument for Apple to be back in the router business.
Yeah, no kidding.
I do not trust. I do not trust Linksys to integrate with HomeKit in such a way, in a secure way. I don't trust them to do that. So I'm not interested in that feature, and I wish that I could get another Apple router that I dislike the way that you manage Apple routers and the lack of high-end performance features and management features. But stuff like this is really cool, and stuff like the old Back to My Mac and old Time Machine stuff. And I'm worried that we're not going to get it. I'll be very... if it got great reviews, maybe I would get one, because I guess I do need to replace this Apple router that they are still very graciously providing software updates to. I just got one the other day, but I don't know how long that's going to last.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer for me. I'm absolutely shocked they're not in the router game. That seems so much up their privacy angle at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the margins on that have to be great. And nobody likes buying routers.
You stick an A8 in there, you're already making a bunch of processors.
Oh my God.
That could be your HomeKit hub. That's gonna be plugged in and on all the time.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, they're back in the monitor game, so maybe routers are next.
Anything can happen. They're always looking for ways to expand outside of just, iPhones and Macs, so it wouldn't surprise me to see that happen. Let's talk about some other stuff. We got some Siri updates. Siri has a slightly new voice. Her voice is now 100% generated by neural text-to-speech technology rather than human-based recording. And so it sounds a little bit different. You can hear examples of it from the keynote itself. They also extend support for Siri on Apple devices like AirPod. On the Bluetooth AirPod, Siri can read your incoming messages and let you respond immediately. You can also split AirPods if you want to share with a friend while streaming content. You bump your phones, Dan is thrilled, and you can share your content with the other person's AirPods.
This is one of those... Dan? It does. It's come up several times. The most recent time was when we were flying back from Sweden and we wanted to watch Game of Thrones. Someone had it on their laptop, but we all had AirPods. So how are we supposed to listen to it at the same time without blasting it over the speakers on the airplane? This would have totally solved our problem. I'm proud of the way we solved it in the interim, but
yeah, it also doesn't say here how many devices you can have synced at the same time. No indication there. So if you can only do 2 sets of AirPods or more, I'm not sure. I can't imagine what they're doing to get all of these various Bluetooth radios talking to each other. But
I don't think they need to talk to each other, right? Because if in the OS you could just output to multiple Bluetooth devices. I mean, I'm sure you can. I'm sure it is technologically possible.
Is it?
I don't think most. Maybe not. But actually, okay, that's a great point.
I think I've tried that. I don't think you can, because there have been. It's all software-y stuff rather than the radios. What I would bet is happening.
Oh, no. Here, I think you can't connect one Bluetooth device to multiple computers, but you can connect obviously multiple Bluetooth devices to your computer.
But I don't think you can stream audio specifically to multiple Bluetooth devices.
If you control the operating system, why wouldn't you be able to?
Again, I'm talking out of my ass at this point, but I do think there's a technological limitations because there's rumors about there being 2 Bluetooth radios in the next iPhone. My guess is, seriously, how they're doing this is they're not syncing up AirPods. They're actually syncing up iPhones locally with each other. And your audio is playing off of your iPhone, even if it's or iDevice, even if the video's on the other. That, I truly think, even if it's I don't know if it's local Wi-Fi or whatever, because I don't know, is like air sharing, is that Bluetooth or is that Wi-Fi, local Wi-Fi?
It can be either.
Yeah, I would bet that's the radio they're using, and it's actually playing on all of the iOS devices. Individual, that's how it's syncing. Then playing to each person. I would be very surprised if like 4 AirPods were all connecting to the same iOS device. That's just a guess. We won't really know until it gets here. Let's see. We also have HomePod can now recognize between different voices for personalized responses, and you can also transfer whatever you're listening to on your device to your HomePod by just tapping it, and vice versa. CarPlay also got a big support, which I'm very happy about. I love CarPlay in my car. It works amazing. Now, Siri can suggest automated shortcuts. based on your activities. It supports third-party Siri supports third-party apps like Pandora and Waze, and it also has a new interface that shows more on the screen at a single time. I'm like super jazzed about this. It's gonna be great.
I didn't know you had CarPlay.
I do in my new car. It is the best.
That's great.
Seriously, it is so easy to use, and I give it a lot of credit because not that I checked my phone a lot when I was driving, but I did.
But I did check my phone a lot.
Everyone does. But with honestly, I don't ever touch my phone when I'm driving now with CarPlay. Because when I touch it for mostly was music control or maps, which is right up on the display, and the occasional message you just respond through Siri. It's really awesome. So I'm excited for those updates. We're like 45 minutes in and we haven't even gotten to half of it. Quickly, before we get to the iPad stuff, I want to mention Apple's new single sign-on feature, which I'm sure you guys want to talk about as well.
Oh, yeah.
Sign in with Apple. It's a new single sign-on tool developed by Apple as an effort to compete against like log in with Facebook or log in with Google, but also to make it more privacy-focused. The way it would work is users in an app would encounter a sign-in button that says sign in with Apple. And instead of setting up a persistent username or password, you're essentially using your Apple ID to sign into that app. But you're not doing it via your Apple ID. What they're doing is they're creating a temporary login to a redirect email address operated by Apple. Each app will have a different redirect email, so it's more difficult for third parties to correlate information about you by comparing email address. And if you want to stop using an app and leave them alone, you just break the redirect and they'll be unable to contact you or use your information. Dan's shaking his head.
No, I'm shaking my head in disbelief. It's so good.
And then an interesting thing that came out after the event, and we can talk about this as well, is that Apple is requiring any third-party app developers who use a sign-in with Facebook, sign-in with Google type system, a third-party login, to also offer sign-in with Apple. It's a requirement. When you talk about antitrust, now we're getting really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. What do we think about this?
Colby?
Well, Sean, you said exactly what I was thinking on that front. It's like, I like the idea. I mean, if you make the argument from it's a private way to sign in and get you the same information. So if you're going to do these other things, you have to support this other one that is also like gives people a privacy out that they wouldn't get with Facebook or something. Mm-hmm. That seems nice, but also, like, can they really? I mean, I'm sure they can.
Well, just Google and Facebook are going to be very unhappy about this.
Right.
Never mind app developers who have to find a space in the app to shove another sign-in button.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it seems like that might be overstepping a little, I guess. But I don't know.
Like you said, good for the consumers.
Yeah, I don't care if it's overstepping or not. I want every app to have this because I've made the mistake. Here's the thing. I made the mistake of going all in on Facebook sign-in a couple of years ago, and it was great until I stopped trusting Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now I've got all of these apps that are kind of tacitly tied to my Facebook account. Who knows if you can even untie them? Like, you can't really retroactively create a password. But this I trust a lot more because there's no, like, Apple has no incentive to really keep me a person tied to this because they don't get any extra information from me whether I do it or not. It lets me have more control over the information and do grant to apps than I would if I was using Facebook or Google. And the email thing is just killer. Like, imagine, granted, iTunes subscriptions should be easier to manage. Imagine being able to manage your email subscriptions with, like, an iTunes subscription thing. Here are all the things you're subscribed to, and you can press one button and just never receive email from them ever again. That's what this would do.
But all of your email communication from those apps is going through Apple servers.
Email communication, right? Like, how often do I send an email to Facebook or Google or REI?
It also, the privacy thing isn't required, right? Like you can.
Oh, you can give them your real email address.
Right. I got the impression you could give them the real email, but it was like an optional, like if you don't trust this thing or whatever, you give them your proxy thing.
I think it's an awesome idea. And actually, one thing I loved even more than that was they also announced some location services privacy, as well as the ability to give an app one-time location access, which I thought was awesome. So I agree with you guys. The question I have, and we won't know until it comes out in the fall, is does it pass the mom test? My mom's a big iPad user. Will she understand what sign-in with Apple means?
Yeah.
And what these options mean. And I'm extremely curious the implementation of this from a user perspective. Because I think this could get, all of a sudden, she's not getting the emails, or she is getting the, like my mom has a me.com account she doesn't even know how she got, and is getting emails sent to it. So it's very bizarre. And I'm curious how it'll be implemented.
Yeah, we'll see.
We will. I'm going to speed up here. We got to keep going. iPadOS. It's kind of confusing, frankly, but iPadOS is now splitting from iOS. But iOS is not iPhone OS. It's still iOS. iPadOS has a bunch of updates. Quickly going through those. A new home screen with widgets. You can expand alongside app icons. Widgets the same as you might find in the notification center on your Mac. They're also adding more multitasking gestures to slide between multiple apps and drag and drop apps side by side. It also includes an improved Files app. It's got a column view, just like Finder's on macOS, and an information pane. It also supports folder sharing from iCloud Drive, and the Files app supports USB drives and SD cards as well, which is very exciting. You can even import photos directly from cameras as well over the USB. That's, by the way, same on iPhone as well. It'll also be supported there. That's also on iOS, the ability to support USB devices like that. Safari browser, they're saying it's got a desktop class browser and a real download manager, which is a nice tweak, as well as some other stuff. You can now, I know, Colby, you're very excited. You can download fonts from the app store, so you can use custom fonts and apps.
Delightful.
Copy and paste has an update. You can use 3-finger pinch to copy and 3-finger spread to paste. Apple Pencil's getting some love. They've reduced the latency by half, and a standard tool palette is getting updated so third-party apps can use the controls. Yeah, that's the very quick run-through of what's new with iPadOS.
I am excited for the multitasking story to get a little bit better, but I was hoping that it would get a lot better. Maybe next year. Like, we should really be able to take windows out, like, and move them around for things like the calculator and stuff like that. And then anytime you have, this is where I miss the desktop when I'm using the iPad. I think the iPad has gotten really, really good over the last 2 years. But things like I want to have 2 Google Docs open side by side. Okay, well, you can have one instance of the Google Doc app open, and it hasn't implemented the Safari-esque, like, in-app split pane view, so you're out of luck. It's like, well, that sucks. Like, how is there not a built-in way that, you know, app support or not, I can just have 2 Google Docs open?
Well, now you can.
Yeah. That's one of the things.
Oh, yeah. I can now. Oh!
Yes. Yeah,
this is fantastic.
During the demo, they had 2 Word docs open in Word app.
Ah.
Let me see if I can find the exact.
And I think you can also have different. You could have different Word docs open in different. What do they call them? Like spaces. Yes.
Watch out, world.
He's a new man. So productive.
So many Google Docs.
I think it's all great stuff. I mean, I just come back to, and I said this in the Slack today, you're going to need a 200-page user manual to use an iPad soon. I mean, there's so many various gestures, and swiping from the left side with 2 fingers does this, and pinching with 4 fingers from the top right corner does that. And I genuinely don't know how a new iPad user, they'll never figure out 70% of this stuff.
Yeah, something has to give.
Mouse support. Mouse support has to give. And actually, believe it or not, it came out after the event. There is mouse support in this new iPadOS, but it's part of the accessibility features. So it's not really something. And essentially, it's like, have you guys ever used the accessibility feature where it has like that little circle that kind of represents your finger? It's essentially that, but you can control it with a Magic Mouse or a USB mouse or a Bluetooth mouse.
Oh, neat.
And control it that way. But that, to me, all of a sudden, this is really interesting with a mouse, because I do feel like that's, not that you would use it all the time, but to have, they're setting this up as a device you use at a desk, which is weird to do with a finger over the desk. You'll use it for some things, but not for others. If you're editing 2 Google Docs, Dan, like you're doing, I think a mouse would work great.
I'm editing so many Google Docs.
So that's my only thought on this. Is I love it. I think it's great. Every time they update the iPad, I'm like, when can I replace my Windows computer with an iPad? When does it get there? And it is like 95% of the way there. It's so close. The new
now you can use your thumb drives.
I hate file support on iOS. I hate it. It's awful. It's bad. And this is a very welcome update.
Now, something that I'm really excited to be able to do with this, and I wonder if it's possible, I download a lot of music that is not available on iTunes, and I do buy it. But getting it onto my iPhone is such a pain in the ass because I'm not set up to sync anything, and I don't even really know how to use iTunes Cloud or iTunes Music Cloud Library Sync, whatever it's called. So I use Google Play Music for all of the music that I buy, because I can buy it on my iMac and then upload it to the thing, and then I can stream it or download it, make it available offline or whatever.
Yep.
But I often am not at my computer when I want to listen to new music and put it on my phone or my iPad. So if I could easily download a zip file, I'm very curious if this will work.
You can unzip. They did say you can unzip.
If I can unzip a directory of MP3s and put them in iTunes and make them available in my cloud account, I'll be extremely happy.
That'll what it should be able to do.
Yeah, that'll be... Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
This is an even better event than I thought it was. You all are making me so happy.
They announced a lot of stuff. I am not kidding. And we haven't even gotten a Mac yet.
Okay, but here's my last thing about iPad.
Yes.
Is I think that it's so easy, it's easy to say. It's easy to imagine an intuitive touch-based interface, right? The Minority Report thing, you can imagine like, I can pick things up and drag them around. And I can manipulate things in really visceral ways, and maybe I can see like, off the screen are these other things, or I can pull up a doodad that I can drag things into and things happen. But that is not the route they've gone. They've gone to these opaque, non-interactive, like 4-finger swipe and 4-finger pinch in you're not doing the Minority Report style thing. You're just using a number of fingers in a direction to indicate something. It's more like a keyboard shortcut and less like intuitive. So I think that iPad could be better than keyboard shortcuts. It's just not yet.
But it's gotten a lot better over the years.
Yeah.
It will get there. I'm optimistic. Let's move on to Mac. We'll start with the software. macOS 10.5 Catalina was announced, and hoo boy, do they have a lot of features. First up, Project Catalyst. We talked about it last time as Marzipan, a way for developers to port iPad apps over to the Mac. It's apparently coming. That's about it. They said Twitter's tried it and said it was great. They're encouraging it'll be supported in this new version, so people will be able to do it. I
thought that was very clever, by the way, because the lack of the disappearance of the Twitter app for Mac is often cited as like why the Mac sucks, and you have to use the Twitter website, but there used to be this great app. So that was a very clever bit of marketing on their part.
Yep. Apple also introduced a new set of their own apps. iTunes is no more. Cry a tear.
Woo!
iTunes is rest in peace, iTunes. You had a good run. Although, interestingly enough, they did not say what they were doing for iTunes on Windows. So,
well,
stay tuned.
they did address this.
Oh, did they?
Did you read that?
No.
They said it's not changing. So
Yay?
iTunes for Windows users will continue to be able to use iTunes as they are today, which does not bode well for iTunes for Windows.
It's crap. But I'm still the idiot who syncs my devices over USB to iTunes, so who am I? I don't trust the cloud. No, in killing iTunes, they brought 3 new apps: the Apple Music app, the Podcast app, and the Apple TV app. They're pretty much straightforward. Podcasts gain local indexing support. Apple Music is basically iTunes without all the other crap. And the Apple TV app supports 4K HDR playback with HDR10, Dolby Vision, and Dolby Atmos. They also brought Sidecar, which is a feature that lets you use your iPad as an accessory display. You can use it as a second display or as a mirrored display. You'll even be able to use the Apple Pencil in an iPad as a drawing tablet on supported Mac apps. And apps like Final Cut Pro and Adobe Illustrator will fully support it, and it's wireless, so it's cool. You can also, we talked about Find My. Photos is getting an update. Activation Lock is coming to Macs, so if your laptop gets stolen, they won't be able to use it, which I guess is great. Yeah, that's really most of the software-y stuff. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
There was the voice control stuff, which was kind of neat. You can control the Mac entirely with just your voice. Same with iOS.
Yeah.
It's an accessibility feature, but you can still, certainly use it. Go nuts.
Man, there's so many things the thing I want to talk about keeps slipping my mind because I'm filled with other ideas. Blah, 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 blah. Nope, I don't remember.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll think of it. That's fine.
I probably will remember it.
Yeah, any thoughts on Catalina?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah. The second display stuff I've used I may have even recommended it. A third-party app called Duet to do this in the past. That's great when traveling. You just want to have a little secondary screen that you can put your email in, or the chat room, or a web page. It's great for that. And it was always pretty good, but it felt a little janky. Mm-hmm. You'd never want to put something really interactive on there. So I hope this is better. But the other thing I really hope that the tablet support, I hope that things like Apple's new screenshot app for iOS supports the using the iPad as a stylus tablet thing. Because, Colby, imagine being able to take screenshots of UIs and draw on them on the iPad and then send it to Slack.
Oh.
You picking up what I'm putting down? Instead of taking a screenshot and using the mouse to drag out the stupid little oval, be like, is this the right oval? Take the screenshot, it goes right to your iPad, draw on it, mark it up, send it over Slack.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
We can dream.
Cool.
Indeed. Well, you know what? I'm sure it'll work very fast on your all-new Mac Pro.
Zip, zip, zip.
The cheese grater is back, baby. The trash can cylinder is gone, and we've reverted back to the metal behemoth. It's got, I'm not going to go through all the stats, but it's got a lot in it. Up to 28 cores, up to 300 watts of power, heavy-duty cooling, up to 1.5.
How many nits does it have?
How many?
Oh, wait, that's the display. Never mind.
That's the display. It's got 12 DIMM slots, 8 PCI Express slots, 2 USB-C, and 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. 2 Thunderbolt 3, 2 USB-A. It's also got 2 more USB-C on the front. And it does have a headphone jack, which is very nice of them to include that.
2 Ethernet ports.
Yep. It also has a custom expansion module called the MPX module, which takes advantage of a dedicated Thunderbolt 3 backbone that Apple built into the motherboard. You can use it for all kinds of special things that go fast. There's also an optional Afterburner dedicated video editing card that can do up to 6 billion pixels per second. The power supply maxes out at 1.4 kilowatts, which is huge. blows air at a rate of 300 cubic feet per minute, which I think is like Hurricane Gale Force 2. And you can add optional wheels if you want to be able to wheel it around.
How much are those?
They didn't say. I'm sure it's $1,000 upgrade. The Mac Pro launches this fall with a starting price of $5,999. That just gets you 32 gigs of memory, an octa-core Intel Xeon, Radeon Pro 580X, and 256 gigabytes of SSD.
Whew.
They also announced a monitor. Get really excited for the Pro Display XDR. It's a 32-inch.
On paper, this is the thing I was more excited for than the Mac Pro.
I mean, this is going to be. I'm gonna when this comes out, I'm going to the Apple Store just to stare at it. It's a 32-inch LCD display. It's a Retina 6K screen, narrow 9mm bezels. Again, I've got a lot of stats here for you. 40% larger than the iMac 5K display, anti-reflective coating, or in a matte option with nano texture. It's
pronounced gazelle, Sean.
That explains a lot.
It's not pronounced that way. Don't do it.
Just kidding with you. It's got a full 1,000 nits of brightness. There you go. A peak of 1,600 nits. It's got a counterbalanced arm that makes it feel virtually weightless. It uses a Thunderbolt 3 cable to connect to the Mac Pro, which can support up to 6 of these displays, can you imagine a grid of 6 of these? Holy shit.
We don't have to imagine it. Come fall, someone will do it.
I can't wait. They say it's even better than HDR. That's why it's called the XDR display. It will be available in the fall along with the Mac Pro. A total of 120 million pixels, and it will all be yours for the low, low price of $4,999. The stand sells for an additional $999, which means if you get the base model of the computer, and you get the display with the stand, you are talking $12,000. The absolute cheapest way you can get the monitor, the stand, and the computer is $12,000. So my question is, how many do you plan to buy?
Or run. I mean, don't walk.
Yes, to your local Apple Store.
Let's talk about the cool stuff first, and then we can complain. Starting with the Mac Pro,
looks sexy.
I do like the look. I think the cheese grater for the new age looks really cool.
Way better than the black cylinder.
Yeah. I like the way that the black cylinder
I don't
looks.
dislike it. I just think this is better.
It does look cool. All the different co-processors they put in it, and they have that what was the special slot or whatever they had?
Afterburner.
But they had the special expansion slot.
Yeah, the MPX module that goes into the
MPX module, the Afterburner stuff, Colby, and then the T2 I think is super duper foreshadowing the ARM transition. Because you could imagine a Mac Pro with a bunch of these, like it has a 24 core general purpose processor, but it also has a bunch of these physics processing units and ray tracing CPUs and encryption CPU, anything you could imagine. I think that's an interesting idea of what a computer could be that we haven't seen since like the 80s, really. Like ever since the IBM Tower took over, it's like, all right, you get maybe two. You get maybe 2 discrete processors. They might have some number of cores. You get 2 of those. You get some RAM and a hard drive. You get a motherboard that maybe it handles networking and sound, but it's mostly the CPU. Then graphics cards came along. That's pretty much as all computers have had to adhere to that. So I'm really excited for having the T2's been around for a bit, but now we have this other thing, the Afterburner, which I think is really exciting. And I think plays into Apple's whole strategy of we put tiny computers in everything and make everything better. So I'm excited about that. Anything else? What are you excited about on the Mac Pro before we get to the things that suck?
I think you're exact. By the way, Dan, I think you knocked that explanation out of the park, and I think you're 100% correct. So I will say that. For me, it's just a really fast computer. Colby, your thoughts?
I mean, for me, it's a computer that I'll never own.
Oh, don't say that, Colby.
Dream big.
Well,
I know you've been looking to upgrade.
that's true. This Mac Mini does have trouble with Skype and Google Chrome at the same
Oh, you're
time.
going to run
about
Chrome
how-
great on this.
Yeah, think about how many Slack teams you could be on this computer.
That's true. Dozens.
Yeah, I think the monitor to me is, as you mentioned, Dan, I think more exciting because it's at least I can, when you look at this the Mac Pro, it's like I can't look at it and tell that it's fast. I mean, it looks cool, but all these are numbers. But the monitor, you can look at it and be like, whoa. And by the way, this just reminds me that why isn't Apple making a TV? God damn it. That is frustrating.
They kind of are.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. They have an Apple TV hardware software product, but they don't make a 60-inch display. Now, I think, because I was thinking about this today, I think I know why. And that is because it is, well, A, it's a brutally competitive market, not that they couldn't win it, but also, and it's a cheaper, it's more of a bargain market than high-end TVs aren't doing as well as they used to. But I think it's a nightmare logistically for these guys. If you think about it, the biggest item they sell are probably these Mac Pros, and they're going to sell 50 of them. And so I think the logistics of shipping TVs, storing TVs in store, returning TVs, repairing TVs, I just think that they don't want the hassle, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Because
they're
love
back in
watching
the monitor game. So now the monitor is by far, maybe the Mac Pro is bigger. I bet the monitor takes up more shelf space and more warehouse space.
Probably. But that's only a 32-inch screen.
Yeah. True. Yeah, sure. So the monitor.
Yeah.
It's like the best display. It's literally the best display ever made. Probably. There are no other HDR 6K displays. I think it was. I don't remember what the qualification was.
I think it's the best that you can actually buy with money, because there's always at CES there's always the 8K demo from Samsung, and I'm sure the technology exists somewhere, but you can actually go and buy this.
Well, soon.
Yes, eventually.
The thing that one of those Apple moments of the display attaches magnetically to the stand and is easy to adjust because it's using gimbals or whatever
to counterbalanced arm, virtually weightless.
Yeah. As someone who recently had to move offices and take apart my precariously assembled Visa monitor mount Apple Cinema display, or Thunderbolt display rather, I was so excited for this. Oh my god, the screwing in the thing to and unscrewing it to adjust which way it's oriented, and how precarious and weird it felt to do all this kind of high stakes assembly. Screwing, adjusting the tension on these springs so that it stays at the right height. A huge pain in the ass. So, that stuff is so cool. That's the only good thing I have to say about the monitor, those two things.
Okay.
And the bad is way too expensive. I was hoping that the monitor would be you could spend $1,000 on it. And that's a lot for a monitor, but it'd be a great monitor. You get maybe some it would be a cool USB-C dock also. Is it even a dock?
No, it's just a display.
It's just a display. That is what I'm disappointed in the price. I'm disappointed that it doesn't for $5,000. Really, you couldn't make it a USB-C hub also? Your last monitor had that. Come on.
Yeah. I'm sure they could, but it's also for $5,000, you're not going to be buying it to plug into your MacBook.
Well, some people will be.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. It's clearly meant to be paired with this giant computer that they have, and you don't need a USB-C hub for that, I don't think.
I'm sure they will, but I do wonder how many more monitors they'll sell than the Pro computers themselves. Because I don't know if it's that many. I think Well, a heavy majority of the monitors will be purchased with a Mac Pro computer. Because I think the price is just too high for even a high-end monitor person to be interested. I mean, at what level a 5 with the stand $6,000 monitor? You know, what are you doing that you need that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, what are one of those like giant Samsung super curved displays that are like 8 feet long cost?
I'm looking that up right now.
Because that's interesting.
So the most expensive display that Dell sells a $6,000 4K display, which is $1,000 more.
But I'm sure they also sell a $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, you know.
Yeah, granted they do. So here's what you get for, or actually that's actually a TV. So let's not get into that. Here is, as far as I can tell, Dell's most expensive monitor, and from what I understand, Dell makes good PC monitors. And this one it's regular price $5,000, 32-inch 8K monitor, which is actually better than Apple's display in terms of pixels, but doesn't have that fancy HDR stuff. I don't know how to compare.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
But even it has 2 display ports and audio line out. Like that is the real thing, is like you want to plug your headphones in to something up here, not something down on your desk, but maybe fancy video editors don't care about that. Anyways, I was hoping that I might be able to buy this monitor, and I will never be able to.
No.
Well, unless Colby and I strike it rich.
That's
He
true.
can get the iPad, the Mac Pro, and I can get the monitor, and we can meet up sometimes and
What a
use
deal.
them together.
I'd love to see you guys like meet up in a Starbucks. He brings the computer, just lugging the computer on wheels behind him. You've got the monitor.
He's got a rope. He's got tied to a rope. It's like hauling a kid around in a what are those things called?
Wagon.
Wheelbarrow?
Yeah.
Wagon? Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. Cool. All right, guys, any last thoughts on WWDC? A lot to get through. Very exciting. I actually, I tend to be pretty pessimistic after Apple events in general because I'm always like, oh, it's boring. We've seen it all before. But actually, I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff. More interesting than I think a normal event.
I'm excited for Apple ID. I'm excited for the HomeKit camera stuff. Those are my 2 like must buys out of this. Like I am going to get into those ecosystems. Yeah.
I'm most excited for dark mode, CarPlay updates. Again, these are just the things I use. And I think some of the AirPod stuff is interesting. What's most exciting for you, Colby?
I feel I'm kind of pumped about, not pumped. Pumped is the wrong word, but like I've been enjoying the like incremental iPad improvements the last few years, and I think I feel like the next iPad refresh I want to get a new one. So seeing like software improvements is exciting. Yeah. And also the sign in with Apple stuff, I'm pretty intrigued by that too.
The fall announcement is going to be super fascinating because we're going to learn more details about all this, and we're going to be getting new hardware to go along with it. So it'll be a fun summer as the developers pour through this and we learn a little bit more of what's buried in the code. And then come the fall, we'll get it on our devices. We'll have some fun with it. That wraps up our WWDC coverage. No time for picks this week because we've gone long. So we're going to wrap it up here in concluding our wonderful WWDC episode. An annual tradition. I think this is our 6th we've covered. You can believe it?
That's a lot. It's a lot of
sure
episodes.
is. We started, it was iOS 7 was the very first
one
we did.
I remember I installed the beta of that one.
Yeah, that was the big user interface update one that everyone hated at first and then liked and then hated. funny enough, we've come a long way. That's going to do it for us here. Don'tPanic.io is our website. You can go there and get all the episodes. Very nicely built by these gentlemen. It'll look great on iOS 13, I'm sure. Of course, you can get the show wherever you get podcasts or the video version on YouTube. And, of course, you can follow us at Don't Panic Show on Twitter. Email us, don'tpanicshow@gmail.com. And even though we're long, and nobody listens this late in the episode anyway, but I'm still going to plug up for debate because we're doing a lot of fun stuff over there, and I wish people would go listen to it. We just wrapped up our James Bond Super Series. It was a complete blast. I loved it. I thought Matt and I had some really interesting opinions. Colby was a wonderful guest. It was a treat to have him on. And I will tease, this week, we are doing our first ever summer reading list. I'm bringing 3 books. Matt's bringing 3 books. We're going to go through their 3 books we each love, and I'm going to pick a book off of Matt's list. Matt's going to pick a book off of my list. We're going to each read them, and we're each going to do a full episode on them. So we might have some fun recommendations for you. So check that out. Coming later this week at upfordebate.tv or wherever you get podcasts. We're going to wrap it up here on behalf of Colby and Dan. I'm Sean. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time for some, hopefully, Apple less news on another Don't Panic.